Welcome back to the realm, everyone, and welcome to this explainer. I mean, wow, it has been an absolutely massive, groundbreaking week for the world of Westeros. Seriously, whether you're a show-only fan still reeling from one of the most shocking TV deaths of the year, or maybe you're a theater lover, a gamer, or a diehard book purist patiently waiting for George R.R. Martin, well, we've got incredible updates for all of you today. We are looking at a literally expanding empire right now, one that spans television, blockbuster films, stage plays, video games, and yes, even the writing desk. The sheer volume of news that dropped in July 2026 is just staggering, so we're going to break it all down for you right now, giving you the complete picture of exactly where this franchise is heading. Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. We'll kick things off with House of the Dragon, then we'll look at the expanding universe, the Mad King's stage play, the recent delay of War for Westeros, and we'll wrap up with those long-awaited George R.R. Martin updates. So let's start with the really big one, Section 1, House of the Dragon and the Butcher's Ball.
All right, so on July 26, Season 3, Episode 6 aired, and man, it safely delivered one of the most highly anticipated, jaw-dropping moments since the entire series began. We watched as the commander led his outnumbered army into what looked like an abandoned battlefield, only to realize way too late that he had marched his men right into a devastating trap. Which brings us to the number 3. That represents the 3 arrows that finally took down Sir Criston Cole, played so brilliantly by Fabian Frankel. And you know, the karmic irony of his death is just staggering. Cole cemented himself as one of the most detestable, arrogant characters on the show, right? He spent the entire series looking down on literally everyone. And in his final moments, he demanded a glorious, honorable sword fight. He wanted to go out like this legendary knight, but instead, he was completely denied that glory and unceremoniously shot down by 3 arrows, including one straight to the face. And to make it even more poetic, the lethal shots were actually fired by a woman, Alison Blackwood. It was just a perfectly fitting end for a deeply flawed man.
The fan reaction to this has been nothing short of spectacular. This quote perfectly captures the mood across social media right now. I've been praying for this day since Season 1. And honestly, can you blame them? I mean, after all the pain, the betrayal, and the pure chaos Cole put Rhaenyra, Alicent, and the entire realm through, watching him just fall face first into the mud without his heroic duel, it was an incredibly cathartic moment for the audience. We basically all united in our shared dislike for the guy, and the payoff was absolutely legendary. Let's move to and see how this builds the momentum for the rest of the season. Episode 6 was monumental, sure, but the fallout is really just beginning. Looking ahead, Episode 7 hits on August 2nd, and Lord Corlys Velaryon's fate is hanging by a thread after being captured by Ormond's army following that savage Hightower ambush. Plus, Alicent is marching straight to Harrenhal to confront and possibly even attempt to kill Aemon Targaryen. Then, just a week later, on August 9th, we get the Season 3 finale. With only 2 episodes left, the board is entirely set for more dragonfire, more betrayals, and inevitably, more bodies dropping. Moving on to Section 2, Expanding the Universe. Let's take a look at how HBO and Warner Bros. Are aggressively conquering new franchise territory with new shows and movies. The sheer scale of the franchise's growth right now is massive. They are literally planting the Targaryen and Stark flags across multiple different mediums, which just goes to show that the appetite for Westeros is larger than ever. On the TV side, we have A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, which actually premiered its first season back in January 2026, and is already greenlit for Season 2 in 2027 to adapt The Sworn Sword. Over in film, we have the massive announcement of Aegon's Conquest, which is currently in the scripting phase. And on stage, the Mad King is playing right now. They are hitting every single entertainment demographic simultaneously. It's wild. So the crucial point here is this brilliant contrast in scale between these upcoming projects. On one hand, HBO is experimenting with a much more intimate format. A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms is a half-hour series, which is a total first for this universe. It follows the smaller, more personal, boots-on-the-ground adventures of Dunk and Egg. But on the flip side, Warner Bros. Is going in the exact opposite direction with Aegon's Conquest. This is going to be a massive theatrical blockbuster. Beau Willimon, the brilliant mind behind House of Cards and a writer on Andor, he is scripting a cinematic, dragon-powered unification of the Seven Kingdoms. It's a major, incredibly ambitious step, taking Westeros from the small screen to the absolute biggest screen possible. All right, Section 3, The Mad King Play, live on stage. Now, for our UK viewers and theater fans, this is an incredibly unique piece of the Game of Thrones puzzle that you can actually go and experience in person right now. This world premiere stage production is running at the prestigious Royal Shakespeare Theatre in Stratford-upon-Avon. It's a co-production with the Royal Shakespeare Company, and it was developed with direct creative input from George R.R. Martin himself. The play is set about 10 years before the events of the original Game of Thrones series, specifically centering on that legendary Great Tourney at Harrenhal. So you get to see younger versions of iconic characters, right? Ned Stark, Lyanna Stark, Jaime Lannister, Robert Baratheon. Now, it did have a bit of a rocky start, to be fair. The first week of previews faced some cancellations due to unforeseen delays, but it officially opened on August 8th and runs all the way through September 5th. If you are a lore fan, this is an absolute must-see to witness the catalyst of Robert's Rebellion happen live on stage.
Let's shift gears to Section 4, Games, and the War for Westeros delay.
I know a lot of you have been eagerly awaiting your chance to command armies across the continent in a brand new real-time strategy game. But well, we have a slight change of plans. The news is that Game of Thrones War for Westeros has officially been delayed by developer Playside Studios from 2026 to early 2027. I know. Delays are always a total bummer when you're hyped for a release. But honestly, we should probably enthusiastically applaud the studio's decision here. They explicitly stated they just need more time to ensure the game reaches the high level of quality they're aiming for. And in an era where we constantly see rushed, totally broken games launched just to hit financial quarters, a delay for quality is a massive win. As the saying goes, let them cook. A delayed game is eventually good, but a rushed game is bad forever. But hey, if you are feeling impatient and you really need to scratch that tactical itch right now, there is an immediate alternative. The mobile strategy game Game of Thrones Dragonfire actually launched globally back on June 2nd, 2026, and it's available right now for Android and iOS. So you can still get your Westeros gaming fix while we wait for the larger PC title to be fully perfected. Finally, Section 5, George R.R. Martin updates. Focus on the books. This brings the narrative arc all the way back home to the bittersweet roots of this entire massive franchise, the author's writing desk. Because let's be real, whenever there's news about George actually writing, it practically breaks the internet. Now, what's really interesting here is this classic George R.R. Martin bait-and switch. Yes, George is writing, but according to showrunner Ira Parker, he's currently writing a brand new fourth Duncan Egg novella. Meanwhile, fans have been waiting on The Winds of Winter for over a decade. It seems like the 77-year-old author is just happily prioritizing shorter projects. Like expanding the Duncan Egg lore to feed the new TV show, or working on the Fire and Blood sequel, rather than pushing through the absolutely daunting main series. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly where we stand in this agonizing wait for the book purist out there. Based on the latest reports, George has a massive 1,200 pages of The Winds of Winter written. That is huge. However, he still has an estimated 500 pages left to go. That's practically a whole book in itself. And just to quickly clear the air, earlier this year, there was a massive leak claiming a 2026 release date for the book. Yeah, that was completely false and quickly debunked by his publisher Bantam Books. So unfortunately, the wait continues. Which leaves us with this final, overarching tension that really defines the fandom today. Will we actually see the end of Westeros on screen, through all these spin-offs, movies, and adaptations, before we ever actually read it on the page? With the franchise expanding so aggressively into cinemas, television, and theaters, the world of Game of Thrones is moving much faster than its creator. It is a fascinating era for the realm. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Definitely let me know what project you are most excited for, and I will see you next time.